Hello, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about artists who reinvented themselves, who switched it up, who gave us something different, if you will. And by different, I mean entirely different, like new name, new look, new music, new everything. Same person, but completely new persona. And I'm not really talking about like when artists do this for a short time, like when Snoop Dogg was in his reggae era and became Snoop Lion for a little while, or when P. Diddy became Brother Love for... I don't know if it was for a reason, but he did for a little while. I don't know if he made any music under that name.
So my new name is Love, a.k.a. Brother Love. I will not be answering to Puffy, Diddy, Puff Daddy, or any of my other monikers, but Love or Brother Love, okay?
But it happened, so we'll acknowledge it. But those are not the sort of artists that I'm going to be discussing today. I'm also not talking about when artists change their stage names, like how Lana Del Rey used different stage names like May Jailer or Sparkle Jump Rope Queen before her career took off. Multiple groups and artists have changed their names, like Lady A, formerly known as Lady Antebellum, or the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, but made no other major changes that were influenced by the name change. Instead, I'll be looking at artists who had a music career under one stage name, then switched up their persona in music. We'll try to see what caused the change in persona and if it brought the artist any more success. Before she was the eclectic rapper Qveen Herby, Amy Heidemann was one half of Carmen, the other half being her then boyfriend Nick Noonan. The couple gained recognition from uploading covers on YouTube and eventually signed to Epic Records. Soon after, they were releasing their own original music in addition to the occasional cover and made appearances on shows like Ellen and SNL. Carmen is best known for their song Broken Hearted, which peaked at number 16 on the Hot 100 back in 2012. The song went platinum just months after its release. Carmen had the quirky, retro hipster vibes typical of the early 2010s. Their music was up-tempo pop with other genres like rock and hip-hop thrown in at times. Amy often showcased her rapping on their songs. However, several reviews of Carmen's debut EP Hello called Amy's rapping irritating. In their review of Hello, Rolling Stone called it one of the most aggressively obnoxious debut albums in recent memory and rated it 1.5 out of 5 stars. Carmen's official debut album, Pulses, came out in 2014. Though it was received slightly better than Hello, a review called it an album full of both moments and misses. In their review, AllMusic said Carmen had yet to translate their charm as a YouTube act into a believable pop act. They also called Carmen passé and said that Amy's rapping was the only thing that made their sound identifiable. As with their EP, Carmen still faced criticism for their music being annoying, over the top, and unoriginal. Pulses was a commercial failure, and it resulted in Amy and Nick's split from Epic Records. Amy also said that she and Nick wanted to go in a different direction with their music than Epic wanted. Amy said about this, "We were hungry to try a more musically honest approach. We wanted to be a little bit nerdier than we think they had hoped." After leaving Epic, Amy and Nick signed with a smaller indie label that gave them more creative control. Their last album as Carmen, Leo Rising, came out in 2016. This was the same year that Nick and Amy got married. They visited an astrologer before writing Leo Rising to get a better understanding of horoscopes. Each of the 12 songs on the album are inspired by a different sign from the zodiac. Leo Rising was the first album Carmen was allowed to do completely on their own, with Nick producing it. They also oversaw the marketing and promotion of Leo Rising, as well as the shooting for the music videos. Reviews pointed out there was noticeably less rapping, and it now sounded like Carmen was making music they actually wanted to make. In 2017, all of Carmen's social media accounts were rebranded and renamed Qveen Herby, announcing Carmen is dead, long live the Queen. Soon after, Amy officially announced her solo project and her new stage name, Qveen Herby. She and Nick are still married, by the way. Her going solo wasn't the result of a breakup or a divorce. Qveen Herby's projects are more hip-hop and R&B influenced than her work with Carmen. Her brand is still eclectic and quirky, but now in a more elevated and refined way that seems more like a style rather than a costume. Qveen Herby's first EP, EP1, came out in 2017, and she's released 9 EPs since, calling that time between her EP era. The EPs contain a mix of confident raps about self-love, eclectic retro pop, and laid-back R&B songs. To accompany each EP, Qveen Herby released an eyeshadow palette through her brand Qveen Studios. Amy said about the transition to Qveen Herby, "When it came time for Qveen, I felt I was giving birth to my true self for the first time. The energy behind the music was about empowerment, self-worth, and confidence, and I felt like I needed to call myself a queen in order to become one." She also said she initially felt bad about breaking up Carmen, but her husband Nick enjoys being behind the scenes and producing more, so it worked out for the better. Qveen Herby has taken a TikTok to market her music, uploading short snippets of her performing her songs at home. Some of her songs, like Sugar Daddy and Mint, have gone viral on TikTok. Her cover of WAP, which she slowed and added piano to, caught Cardi B's attention, and Cardi praised the song. In 2021, Qveen Herby released her first album, A Woman. Much like her EPs, several of the songs espouse themes of self-love, feminism, and independence. Amy wrote all of the songs on the album except for 2, and Nick co-produced them all. Though some songs on A Woman are rather on the nose in their themes and expressions, it still seems more intentional and unabashed now, rather than how with Carmen it just seemed like the two didn't know what subtlety was at all. The digital journal called A Woman provocative, vivacious, and timely. In their review, they said, overall, Qveen Herby delivers on her eclectic debut album, A Woman. She displays her wide range as a singer-songwriter and rapper on this musical effort, and it shows. The music is timely and relevant, and there is nobody else like her on the radio airwaves at the moment. In October of 2021, Qveen Herby released Hollow Queen. As the name suggests, it was Halloween-themed. Several songs in the EP sound like typical Qveen Herby, yet others, like Bats in the Belfry, are more dramatic and sound like late 2000s pop. Still, the songs are a fun seasonal twist on her usual empowerment anthems. Last October, Qveen Herby released another EP called Mad Queen. Based on the album art and song titles like Cruella and Rabbit Hole, the EP is clearly Disney-inspired, mostly by Alice in Wonderland, it seems. The opening track, Mad Queen Mantra, samples Amy Winehouse's You Know I'm No Good. It seems like fans didn't like Mad Queen as much as they enjoyed Qveen Herby's other EPs. Several called the lyrics cringy and said they just couldn't get into them. Some even said it was her worst project and era yet. Amy has said that she's not opposed to ever working with a major label again, but she definitely enjoys her freedom as an independent artist. She said if she ever returns to a major label, her work with Carmen gave her valuable experience to handle it better this time around. Even if her music isn't always well received as Qveen Herby, at the very least it's still the type of music that she actually wants to make. Before she was one of the new decade's most popular R&B singers, Muni Long performed under her real name Priscilla Renea. Her full name is actually Priscilla Renea Hamilton, but she just used her first and middle name as her stage name. Priscilla was signed to Capitol Records after gaining attention from her covers on YouTube. Priscilla has since said that Capitol encouraged her to abandon her YouTube channel after they signed her, which she now regrets. Priscilla's debut album, Jukebox, was released in 2009. She wrote half the songs on the album herself and performed some of the piano and guitar instrumentals. Generally, Jukebox received positive reviews and even earned Priscilla comparisons to Rihanna in her earlier eras. One of the singles, Dollhouse, achieved moderate popularity. The song is full of symbolism and themes about independence with all of the electropop trappings of late 2000s music. The symbolism continues throughout the album, with Priscilla using a lot of nursery rhymes and childhood songs as metaphors for darker topics. Despite being critically acclaimed, Jukebox didn't chart and it only sold 1,200 copies in its first week. She also branched out into writing songs for other artists. Rihanna's California King Bed was co-written by Priscilla, as was Selena Gomez's song Who Says. Priscilla also wrote other pop hits including Timber and Worth It. She's written for artists including Demi Lovato, Little Mix, K. Michelle, Kelly Rowland, Mariah Carey, and Kelly Clarkson. On Ariana's album Thank You Next, Priscilla helped write the songs Imagine and Fake Smile. It's estimated Priscilla has over 100 songwriting credits to her name across several genres. Her first #1 song was Cheryl Cole's Promise This, which topped the UK singles chart. Earlier last year, she was up for an Album of the Year Grammy for her work on Hrs' debut album Back of My Mind. Over the years, Priscilla also featured on songs with artists including B.O.B., Diplo, and Train. In 2018, she released her final album as Priscilla Renea called Colored. The following year, Priscilla Renea re-debuted under the name Muni Long. Her intention was to attempt to break away from being known only as a songwriter. Still, she continued songwriting and actually helped write Just Like Magic and 630 on Positions. In late 2020, she released her first song as Muni Long called Midnight Snack, featuring Jacob Lattimore. Her breakout hit, Hours and Hours, earned Muni Long her much-desired recognition not only as a songwriter, but as a singer. Hours and Hours peaked at number 16 on the Hot 100 and topped the R&B songs chart. Muni Long is actually the first independent female artist to achieve this. Hours and Hours came from her EP, Public Displays of Affection, which was named one of the best R&B albums of 2021. Hours and Hours earned Muni Long the Ashford and Simpson Songwriting Award at last year's Soul Train Awards. Muni has said that a lot of her current music is more emotional and personal, and she's showing a side of herself that she didn't show in her previous music or really at all. Songs like Ain't Easy and Time Machine talk about the heartbreak and regret that she's felt in relationships. Muni Long's success brought her to the attention of Def Jam, who she eventually signed with. She was partly convinced to come to the label by Tunji Balogun, who she'd known in the industry for years. Currently, Tunji is the CEO at Def Jam, but he was previously an executive VP at RCA and co-founded Keep Cool, the record label that Normani signed under. Tunji has said that Muni Long is basically the same person as she was when she was known as Priscilla Renea, except now she's more confident. Muni Long released her first album under her new name, Public Displays of Affection, the album, last September. Along with original songs, it combined songs from her two prior EPs, Public Displays of Affection and Public Displays of Affection 2. Not only was the album released through Def Jam, but also through her own label, Supergiant Records. Priscilla has said that becoming Muni Long has helped her fight for her own artistry as much as she's contributed to other people's. While she's proud of herself for writing number ones and Grammy-nominated songs for others, she's excited to finally do that for herself. Muni Long said in an interview with the LA Times, "The Grammys is such an amazing part of being an artist. I think a lot of us are lying to ourselves and we don't want to be a part of it. Damn right I want to win a Grammy. I want to be on TV. I want to travel the world. I want the jets, the houses, the boats. Why wouldn't I want that?" Currently, Muni Long is nominated for Best New Artist at the 2023 Grammys, and Hrs and Hrs is nominated for Best R&B Song and Best R&B Performance, making these her first nominations as an artist rather than a songwriter. This last artist isn't super mainstream, but if you were on Tumblr in the mid-2010s, you're likely familiar with Natalia Kills. She was the perfect embodiment of the neon-studded, over-the-top, and over-embellished bad girl aesthetic of that era. Natalia, who was born Natalia Cappuccini, or Natalia Carey Fisher as other sources say, was known for her electropop sleaze music. She had a few popular songs like Problem, Mirrors, and Champagne Showers. From my understanding, she was more popular in Europe than she was in the United States. Natalia had also previously performed under the name Verbalicious and achieved a minor hit called Don't Play Nice. In 2011, she released her first album Perfectionist through Interscope, Cherry Tree, and will.i.am's music group. She has writing credits in all of the songs, stating that she was inspired by a desire to be loved and understood. 4 singles were released to promote perfectionism, with Mirrors going top 5 on the US Hot Dance Club songs chart. Some critics called Perfectionist gimmicky and said Natalia was worried more about having an edgy image than the actual music. Other critics said that Natalia's music was too similar to that of other popular artists. Natalia's next album, Trouble, came in 2013. She continued to use music to explore her troubled childhood and teen years, as well as other personal struggles. Natalia called Trouble a collage of her worst memories and mistakes. Critics claimed her songwriting had evolved since Perfectionist and considered Trouble a more cohesive project. In their review, Ida later said it was nice to see Natalia finally paving her own lane musically. Others still weren't convinced by her artistry and continued comparisons to other artists like Lady Gaga and Pink. On Trouble, Natalia Kills works with popular artists at the time, including Danielle Haim, Emil Haney, and Mike Will Made It, who all either helped produce, played instruments on the track, or both. In 2014, Natalia married her husband, William Sinclair, better known as Willie Moon. He's also a singer, best known for his 2012 song Yeah Yeah, which became popular after being featured in an iPod commercial. The following year, the couple basically killed their careers after a bizarre and unwarranted attack on a contestant on X Factor New Zealand. The couple claimed the contestant, named Joe Irvine, was creepy for copying Willie Moon's entire style, which was just a suit, by the way. So I can't play the actual clip because X Factor loves to copyright, but I will read you what Natalia and Willie said. So Natalia starts off by saying, "Obviously we have a doppelganger in our midst," and then makes some comments towards Joe, calling him disgusting and saying he makes her sick. She then says, "As an artist who respects creative integrity and intellectual property, I am disgusted at how much you've copied my husband. From the hair to the suit, do you not have any value or respect for originality? You're a laughingstock. It's cheesy, it's disgusting. I personally found it absolutely artistically atrocious. It's absolutely disgusting. You have no identity. I can't stand it. I'm ashamed to be here." And then Willie calls Joe's whole look cheap and absurd and says, "It's like Norman Bates dressing up in his mother's clothing. It's all a little bit creepy. It feels like you're gonna stitch someone's skin to your face and then kill everybody in the audience, but do you?" In his performance, Joe sang Michael Bublé's rendition of Cry Me a River, which perfectly explains why he would be wearing a suit. I find this whole debacle ironic because not only have critics compared Natalia to other artists and called her gimmicky, she's also said herself that she's influenced by several other artists. According to Natalia herself, she's inspired by artists like Alanis Morissette, Kate Bush, Lady Gaga, Freddie Mercury, and Gwen Stefani. After the X Factor episode, a petition to get the couple fired collected over 70,000 signatures. X Factor fired the couple, of course, which they likely still would have done without the petition. Artists like Lorde, Ellie Goulding, and Ed Sheeran either spoke out against Natalia and Willie or publicly expressed their support for Joe. In an attempt to separate herself from the X Factor controversy, Natalia retired her Natalia Kills identity. She started making music under her real name, Teddy Sinclair, Teddy apparently being a childhood nickname for Natalia. The following year, in 2016, Teddy announced her new music venture. She was now the frontwoman of Cruel Youth, a band formed with her husband Willie. The two decided to form a band after moving to the US to reconnect with music and escape the heat from their X Factor firing. Willie wasn't a member of the band, instead working as their producer. Cruel Youth's only album, 30 Milligrams, came out in 2016, and the band toured with Kiara that same year. Teddy has since left her previous labels and is now signed to Disgrace Records. Aside from her own music, Teddy also writes for other artists. She co-wrote the song Holy Water on Madonna's Rebel Heart, as well as Rihanna's Kiss It Better. Her work on Kiss It Better earned her a Grammy nomination. Teddy also has a writing credit on Blackpink's sophomore album Born Pink for co-writing the song The Happiest Girl. Over the years, Cruel Youth has released a few singles, and their next album is slated for release this year. Despite Teddy's attempt to rebrand, her X Factor tirade still follows her and is brought up in almost every single article that mentions either her band, or her husband, even over 7 years after the fact. And it does make sense that for several artists who've been in the industry for years, that they would want to switch up and, try new things and reinvent themselves at some point, possibly. And I'm sure that's a lot easier to do under a new name or identity or stage name, because I'm sure to an extent that does act like a clean slate. And I think for artists like Muni Long, a new persona can breathe new life into a career and hopefully give them the recognition and the accolades that they've been longing for. And I think at the very least, it can just help artists be more artistically genuine with themselves than they had been in previous eras. And sometimes it's not even really about, this previous era, this previous persona wasn't the real me, but this new persona is the real me now. Sometimes it's as simple as, this is who I was as an artist back then, and this is who I am artistically now. So as always, I am very eager to know your thoughts on these artists or their previous personas or music. Were you aware that these artists had prior personas or lived an entire past life and have a past discography maybe before you were introduced to them? And also, if you know of any other artists who rebranded this way, because I feel like there are several, we can go ahead and get those discussions going in the comments as well. As always, thank you dolls so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and click the bell so you can be notified when I upload next. If you'd like to become a channel member, you can click the link in this video's description or the join button on my channel. I will see you all very, very soon. Love you dolls. Bye-bye.